food. Everyone needs food. So we're going to be having a very interesting presentation today from in the name of Jesus. We thank you because it's a day you have made and we shall rejoice in it. Thank you for being so wonderful in our lives. Thank you for the opportunity to continue to learn. Nothing happens by accident, but that which you have purpose. And say, Lord, that which you have purpose for our lives this afternoon will be brought to fruition in Jesus. We ask for divine wisdom, for the lecturer, that you will do that which you have purpose for our life today in the name of Jesus. We thank for Johnny Masses for her and the mom. We thank you for taking absolute control of their lives. Thank you, Father, because you have destined your daughter especially for greatness. And this great look in the name of Jesus. Give us a good listening span that we will benefit from what she has to offer. At the end, we shall have for the greater than going in. Thank you, gracious Father. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Please, you can have your seat. Yes, like I told us, this is a very special program, and it streamed live, so people are watching across the globe, all over the world. Please, let's take the forum, let's be calm, let's be silent, and let's receive this presentation interestingly. Thank you. So I have the pleasure to invite the principal assistant registrar. Thank you. Can we appreciate her, everybody?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Please kindly permit me to establish a protocol for this assembly. The Chancellor, Dr. Winifred Awoshida OON, the Board of Trustees, the Governing Council, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Chinedu Peace Babalola, ably represented by the Dean of Commerce, Professor Tayo Akibobola, our guest speaker, the Acting Registrar, Mr. Bishop Aladesu, our distinguished professors, other members of management here present, the amazing staff members of the university, our wonderful students, members of the press, parents, and all participating all around the world. We want to especially welcome everyone to this occasion. We are glad that we are here today. We are glad that we have noticed the situation from the United Nations. We are glad that this is coming at this time where there is a bit of an unrest in the country. This is like a solution to the situation currently happening in this country. And I would like to tell you all that enjoy I'm putting down your questions, observations, or clarification that you need. And everything will involve with taking. I want to especially welcome everyone once again. Thank you and God bless you.
Don't want to take something from you.
And on this note, I would like to invite the Vice Chancellor who will be giving us an opening remark. She's currently on an official assignment outside of the university, but she has graciously she wants of the world. She will be talking to us this afternoon. Can we have her remark? Okay. Maybe the remark may come in later on. I'm sure she's trying to connect. On this note, I would like to say something briefly. I'd like to invite our guest speaker right away. Okay, information getting to me. The Vice Chancellor is actually ably represented here. So we would like to invite the Dean of Commerce, that's the College of Arts, Management and Social Sciences, Professor Temitayo Akimbobola, to give this remark on behalf of the Vice Chancellor. Professor Temitayo, sir.
Thank you. As she has said, the Principal Assistant Registrar Dr. Mrs. Admadu, we are not going to waste time. We are going to go straight into the lecture. And our guest speaker is right here with us, Mrs. Adeyinka Sanogo, ni Badejo. So when you hear Sanogo, don't think she's a foreigner. She's a Nigerian, and she's worked all through with the United Nations, and she'll be on achieving zero hunger by 2030. I know those in economics, those in accounting, business admin will know what sustainable development goals are. We have 17 of the sustainable development goals, the SDGs. So listen carefully. This is one of the goals to be achieved by the United Nations for all countries in the world. So, having that background, she will take us through how feasible, how prepared Nigeria is achieving that goal by that set target. And I know by the time she's through, we will all enjoy it. We will be able to ask good questions. Is that clear? So, like I said, we won't waste much time, but I must recognize the presence of our professors around here. We have the head of department, mass communication, Professor Onobado. A round of applause for him again. And sitting next to him is Professor of the Department of Political Science and International Relations. A round of applause for him. And next to him is Mrs. Badejo, who is also a guest to Chrisland today. A round of applause to her. So I'm driving at something. When I said our guest speaker is Ni Badejo, you can figure it out that the person speaking to you is Professor Badejo's daughter. A round of applause. So, it's an inspiration. It will inspire you when you listen to her to begin to think deep on what you are here to do, to achieve. And so, would allow her 30 minutes or 1 half? 30 minutes. 30 minutes to present to us achieving zero hunger by 2030. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Professor Akibobola. Thank you so much. In this world of hunger and pain and insecurity, which is prevalent right now, it is paramount that we are able to come up with a lasting solution to the issue of hunger around the world, even for Nigeria. So it is with a great pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker, who will be doing justice to this prevailing issue. And I will kindly crave your indulgence, ma'am. Join me as I invite Mrs. Adeyinka Badejo-Sanogo, the Deputy Director, UNWFP, that's the United Nations World Food Program, South Sudan. Please, can you kindly rise? And I also ask that Agu Chibuzo, would like to invite Agu Chibuzo as she reads the citation of the guest. Agu Chibuzo, as he reads, okay, that's my very good friend, also known as the good boy. To read the citation of the guest. We'll give the judges to remain standing, man, as we read the citation.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Agu Chibuzo, and I'm here to read about our guest speaker today. So, Mrs. Adeyinka Badejo-Sanogo joined the United Nations World Food Program in September 2001 as a program associate. She's currently the Deputy Country Director of the World Food Program Country Office in South Sudan since January 2021, managing one of the largest humanitarian crises in Sub-Saharan Africa. Prior to her assignment in South Sudan, she served as representative and country director of the World Food Program Office in Côte d'Ivoire from 2016 to 2020, managing a humanitarian and developmental portfolio in support of 154,000 people. With nearly 20 years of experience with the World Food Program, Ms. Badejo has held various operations and management positions in Afghanistan, Côte d'Ivoire, Sudan, Syria, Zimbabwe, with extensive travel to support various corporate emergencies in Pakistan and Somalia. Her area of work includes humanitarian assistance, food security, nutrition, education, social protection programs with particular focus on child development and women empowerment. Citizen of Nigeria, Mrs. Badejo has double bachelor's degree in sociology and economics from the University of Massachusetts, USA, and held a master's degree in economics at the University of Toledo, USA. So, can we all be upstanding and give a round of applause for our guest speaker, Mrs. Badejo.
Wow. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that amazing welcome. So, I won't go too much into my background because the speaker before me has given you basically my CV. I joined the World Food Program in 2001, in my 20s. I joined at a very low level, almost a volunteer, and today I'm one of the managers managing huge corporate program in South Sudan. Before I start, I want to take this opportunity to thank the university administration, the management, for giving me this platform to speak to you today, to basically share with you my international global experience. I wish to thank particularly the Vice Chancellor, Professor Mrs. Chinedu Peace Babalola, who is represented here today by the Dean of Social Sciences, Professor Akim. And I'm really to see that this room is packed. It's full of the audience, a combination of staff members, as well as the students. That shows your interest in this subject. So really, I thank you, and I would like us to give a round of applause for the So I'm very pleased that Professor Akin Bobola started by mentioning the Sustainable Development Goals. In 2015, world leaders, they got together to see how can we advance the cause of humanity. And they decided to set 17 ambitious development goals. And one of these goals is zero hunger. The first goal is no poverty. Basically, the world is aiming to end poverty by 2030. Is this possible? Another goal is achieving zero hunger by 2030. And that's why I put a question mark next to my title. Because today, we are in 2021, which means that we have 9 years to go before meeting this deadline. Is it possible to achieve a world without hunger by 2030? Don't answer yet. We have some time at the end of the presentation to have a discussion, and I will take your questions and answers. But I want you to keep this in your mind in terms of the ambitious goals that our leaders have set and what they are doing to make sure that we reach this goal. So in my opening, I had wanted to also show you the link between conflict and hunger. Because today in the world, there is so much conflict going on in more than 10 countries. How many people is aware, how many of you are aware of what is happening today in Ethiopia? Please raise your hand if you know what's happening in Ethiopia. What about in Yemen? What about in northeast Nigeria, in your own backyard? Do we know what's going on there? So I'm hoping that during today's presentation, I will be able to share with you how hunger, how conflict is increasing the number of hungry people and what organizations like WFP are doing to try to reduce hunger, destitution in the world. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, for today's presentation, I wanted to make it really dynamic and interactive. I just don't want to talk. So, I've incorporated 4 videos that I want to show you. And these are very short videos, 1.2 minutes, maximum 5 minutes, to give you an idea of what WFP is and what WFP does internationally. So the agenda for today, I'll give you an introduction of what is WFP within the UN systems, and then we have a presentation on WFP's work fighting hunger globally, and then we come a bit closer to home in northeast Nigeria, and you'll see what Boko Haram, the havoc that Boko Haram is causing. And then, I'm currently working in South Sudan. I want to give you an idea of what I am dealing with in South Sudan. And then we will wrap it up with what I call a call to action, which means that every one of us can do something. And then we will conclude with a discussion and Q&A. So, are we ready? Are you all ready to come on this journey with me? Okay, so go to the next slide, please. I hope you can all see. I'm really sorry for those that are in the back. I hope you can see the presentation. So just really quickly, how many people know what is the United Nations? Please raise your hand if you have heard of the United Nations. Please, I'm sure many of you have heard of the United Nations. Okay, if you have not heard of the United Nations, you have to take Professor Badejo's class on international relations. It's a must. Okay, so if you haven't heard of the United Nations, then it's not likely that you have heard of the World Food Program. But I'm going to ask the question anyway. How many people have heard of the World Food Program? Okay, well, I'm sure if somebody else comes tomorrow and asks you who has heard of the World Food Program, everybody in this class will raise their hands. So this is like a 60-year journey. We have been trying longer. We're still working on it, but we're getting there. So UN World Food Program was established in 1961 to save lives during emergencies. So I'm bringing you back to the conflict that I was talking about earlier. The link between conflict and hunger. So WFP is working in countries where there are crises and where there is hunger. So World Food Program was created in 1961, and each year we mobilize 6 to 7 billion, not million, 6 to 7 billion dollars people who do not have enough food to eat. In 2020, we assisted 100 million people in 88 countries. And if you remember, I said 690 million people are hungry. So the work we do is not even covering the need. We cannot assist everybody because we do not have enough resources to reach everyone. Can we go to the next slide, please? And the last thing that I wanted to add, how many people is aware of the Nobel Peace Prize? Do we know the Nobel Peace Prize? Show of hands if you have heard of the Nobel Peace Prize. So WFP won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2020. The Nobel Peace Prize is really And it's a remarkable achievement. If you know Wale Soyinka, what so that the WFP is part of the UN system, and the work that we are doing is really on hunger. Let's go to the next slide, please. So these are the Sustainable Development Goals. Professor Akimbobola mentioned them earlier. There are 17 goals, but I'm just going to focus on the first 5. And then you can, research, look into it more after this talk. So goal 1 is that by 2030, no more poverty on this world. And I can tell you today, we are not on track to achieving that goal. Goal number 22 is no hunger in this world. Again, progress has been made, but we're not moving fast enough. The third goal is something to do with health. I can't see very well. Good health and well-being. And as you can see today, we are dealing with coronavirus. Again, this is something that the UN is working on in partnership with governments. Everybody has access to good health services. Everybody has insurance, medical insurance, etc., etc. And then my favorite is quality education. This is why we're here today in Chrisland University, where you to try to move forward this agenda. Next slide, please. So again, I just want to remind you, I work for the World Food Program, which is part of the United Nations system, and our focus is on world hunger. The map that you see before you, this is the hunger map for the world. I hope you can see it in the back. So this map is the map of the world, and you can see where the hunger hotspots are in the world. Everything that is blue, they have very little problem of hunger. And this is in Russia, in the United States, in Brazil, in Canada, etc., etc. Wherever you see yellow, orange, red, these are the problem areas. And you can see Africa and Asia has a lot of hunger. So this map says a lot, and I invite you to visit WFP website, www.wfp.org, want to know more about the work we do. So right now, I would like us to move to the exciting part of this presentation. We're going to look at 4 videos, and before each video, I'll give you a brief overview of what's coming. So the first video is the corporate video of WFP. Are we ready to play the video? So the first video is about WFP and the work we do globally. What are the causes of hunger? There are many factors causing hunger. Conflict is one of them. Climate change. And when I say climate change, I mean floods, droughts, because they come and they destroy the crops that have been planted. So that means that people cannot harvest and they don't have food. So let's watch the video and then we talk about it later. I hope the sound is... No sound? again, I was saying that, conflict is not the only cause of hunger, but it is the main cause today. Because right now, we have more than 10 conflicts in the world, and it is increasing the number of hungry people. Can we start from the beginning? So it looks like we have a bit of a technical issue. But basically what the video is showing is that across the globe, there are different factors affecting hunger. We have climate change, drought, desertification, we have floods, and as well as conflicts. So that picture that you saw just there was conflict. And then it shows a WFP helicopter taking off, WFP delivering food. This is us delivering food to the people in need. And these are kids that are, almost dying of hunger. But not only do we provide food, but we also help people to develop, to grow their own food. Whenever a community goes through a conflict situation, we help them to recover from that conflict by teaching them how to produce food better, by bringing them technology to produce better, and by basically promoting food security in their community. So this is WFP, saving lives during emergencies and changing lives when there is no conflict. So I really apologize that the video does not seem to be working. I'm not how we're going to do this because I have 4 videos to show you all. The second video, as I said, I wanted to take you on a small journey to northeast Nigeria, where Boko Haram has been creating conflict in the country. And the way Boko Haram operates, they come in, they destroy entire villages, so people have to flee. They have to flee for their lives. And when you have to drop everything and run, you are not thinking about, saving. Are we back? Okay. So I was saying with the link between conflict and hunger, if somebody comes and attacks your village, you have to run for your lives. You leave everything behind, you run. But what happens is that you lose your livelihood, you lose your assets, you lose access to your land, and thereby you lose access to food. And if you are in that situation for a long period, you eventually suffer from hunger, and if you don't get assistance, you may eventually die of hunger. So that's why WFP is working to save lives. And how do we save lives? We basically bring people food. We bring them sacks of rice, sacks of maize, and sometimes we give them cash. When we have cash, we give them cash every month, and they go to the markets to buy the food that they need. And I want to emphasize again that yes, there's a lot of hunger and poverty in the world, and WFP is not assisting everybody. We only work in areas where there is an emergency, areas where there is a crisis, where the government does not have the resources or the capacity to help their people. Then they ask WFP to come and help. And some of the ways that we provide this assistance, sometimes the conflict is ongoing. You cannot reach people by going by road. You have to take a plane and airdrop the food in their community. I worked in Syria for 4 years during the war. And in Syria, the government was using food as a weapon of war. Like they would block entire villages and not allow food to go in and people to come out. We had to drop the food by plane so that the people will not die of starvation. And a similar situation we are facing now in South Sudan. South Sudan is a country that has been facing decades of conflict. They got their independence from the north in 2011, and then in 2013 the war started again. So they have been in perpetual conflict, and they've not been able to develop their country. So you have a situation where people are literally dying of hunger. And on top of conflict, you have the effect of climate change. If I could show you photos, you would see that there are areas in South Sudan that are still submerged underwater. And this is rain that fell since 2019. But the water has not been able to move because there is no infrastructure, there is no canal, no roads, no drainage system. Everything is just sitting in water. So you have conflict, you have the effects of climate change, and what this translates to is that 60% of the population is hungry. South Sudan has a population of 11.3 million people. When you compare that to Nigerian population, that is nothing. But South Sudan is also as wealthy as Nigeria because they have a lot of oil. But because they have been in conflict for so long, 60% of the population are hungry, and WFP is feeding 5 million of them. 5 million is a big number when you compare, put it in perspective of the whole population. So this is the situation in South Sudan. So I hope I've been able to show you how conflict leads to hunger. If there is no conflict, you are in your village, you are in your house, you are going to work every day, you have your salary, you can go to the market and buy food. But when there is conflict and you have to run, become a refugee in a neighboring country, or become displaced in your own country, like in northeast Nigeria, you have no way of producing your own food. You have no money to buy. You have to rely on NGOs. You have to rely on organizations like WFP. But something is wrong with this picture, because the world we live in today, there is abundant food, abundant resources. If only people would stop fighting and focus on development. The last video that I wanted to show you is called Mobilizing Generation Zero Hunger. How many of you have heard the word of millennial? I'm sure all of you in this room today, you are millennials, right? No? Most of you are millennials. I would say 80% of the people in this room are millennials. No? More or less? 25? Sorry, I can't hear you. 25%? Anyway, whatever the case is, I was really excited to show you this video because this video is interviewing youth from all over the world and asking them, what does hunger mean to you? And how do you think we can end world hunger? So it gives me so much hope to speak to you today because really, you are the future. You are the future scientists, the future innovators. You are the ones that are going to find solutions to the problems society is facing today. And I mean, I'm sorry, you guys are really inheriting a bad situation. What you are inheriting, I apologize on behalf of my generation, but we're looking to you guys to innovate and come up with things that we have not discovered yet, and to see how we can truly, once and for all, vanquish hunger, poverty, disease, and war from our lifetime. Do we have sound? Hey, this is great. Please, an applause for the IT team. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
มาดูแลในเรื่องของอาชีพหลังการเก็บเกี่ยวอยากให้เข้ามาดูในส่วนที่อาชีพของเขาว่างเว้นจากงานหารายได้เสริมให้เขา
Mobilize our generation. We need to make up
easy methods of being able to do your best.
I think our leaders need to invest more money into funding.
It's probably the government's job to give aid to foreign countries.
To countries and people who need it rather than wasting it.
We need to capacitate our leaders and end the dependency on international aid.
And then the hunger.
A hunger-free world will be a fairer and more equal world.
Peaceful. Full of peace.
มาด้วยความ
Happy?
happy.
Hannah?
So thank you very much. I'm not sure if you were able to hear that, but I hope that the university management will share the links with you so that you can discover the videos on your own and remember the conversation that we had today. There were 3 messages that really touched me in that video. And again, this video was showing youth from across the world. There was somebody from Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Europe, etc. And one of them said, hunger is like a virus that is curable. So this problem has a solution. So we have to find that solution together. And then one message was, we need to wake up. There is hunger all around us. We need to wake up. We need to do something. Everyone can do something. And the last one is really talking about investing in farming. And this is where I feel like the young generation also can think of ways, innovative ways. I was speaking with Professor Akinbobola earlier, and he was telling me about some of his students that are working on biofortification. I mean, how amazing is that? If we can have drought-resistant seeds, this means that drought will not, have a major impact on food security. So I'm reaching the end of my presentation. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you took something away. But as I said earlier, I didn't want this to be just me, talk. I want to hear from you. Unfortunately, you weren't able to see the video, so, I hope it will have an impression on you, but maybe you have something to say. What hunger means to you? Have you ever experienced hunger? And what do you think we need to do together to end world hunger? Thank you. I would like to see some hands. Well, I'm very happy that nobody has experienced hunger in this. Even me, if I don't have breakfast, if I don't have lunch, don't look at my face at night, huh? So, can I have a volunteer? You guys are amazing intellectuals, so I want to hear what you have to say about hunger and what you think we need to do to end world hunger. It's unfortunate I couldn't show you the video on Boko Haram in Nigeria. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Okay. Now, thank you very much for the presentation. I have a question. The WFP was established in 1961, and while you were making your presentation, I was thinking in my mind that if we do not have climate change, we do not have education, we do not have law, what else will the WFP be doing? And are those things really not drifting then away from their objectives?
Yes, another question.
Okay, thank you for your wonderful presentation. My question is, I could hear and I've seen that the World Food Program is aimed at ending hunger. the world ending hunger by the year 2030. And I imagine that, is this not a flowery statement? Is it possible to end hunger? So long human beings continue to live, can provision of food items be a means to ending hunger? I was thinking that emphasis would be on job provision, infrastructural development, especially in the third world countries, so that they will be able to do things for themselves, and they will be able to end self-hunger and other issues that really bring about hunger, as the case may be. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. I can take a few more questions before I respond. I would like to hear from the younger generation. Of course you are. Okay, let me rephrase. I would like to hear from the students. One more question from the students before I respond to these. Good afternoon. Sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry? Let me come closer. So her question is, how can she participate in ending hunger? Okay, I have 3 questions now, so I will try to answer them. Okay, so the first question came from one of the staff members, and really I thank you for this question. Your question was that, you know, WFP was established in 1961. What else, if there were no droughts, climate change impact, what else would WFP be doing? WFP was created specifically to address food crises created by emergencies. And these emergencies could be man-made, which is war, conflict, or natural disasters, like flood and drought, like you have said. WFP, we do not want to exist. And since 1961, it has been 60 years and we are still here. We are still here because the world needs us. But we don't want to be doing what we're doing if there was no crisis in the world. So if there was no climate change problem or no war, WFP would not exist because there will be no need for food. And we will not be doing this, we will be doing something else. So my executive director, and you will see him in one of the videos, his goal in life is to close WFP. Because the fact that WFP exists is a sign that the world, humanity, is a problem, basically. The fact that we exist means that our governments are not doing their job. If there is hunger in the country, that's a problem. So for us, we would rather be doing something else and not what we're doing. So I hope that answers your question in a way. So yes, we have been in existence since 1961, and our work has been growing every year because every year there is a crisis, either a conflict, a war, or a natural disaster. The second question came also from the staff member, that isn't it a flowery statement to end world hunger by 2030. You know, it's interesting that you say that because WFP did not make this goal. This goal was made by our governments, our leaders. 193 world leaders came together in 2015 and they established the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They committed to ending world poverty by 2030. They committed to ending world hunger by 2030. WFP, we are here to help. We work with governments, in partnership with government to find solutions. How can we solve this problem? So it is an ambitious goal. I don't think we are going to achieve it, but we can at least reduce it every year instead of making it worse. But by having war, by having conflicts, by not prioritizing climate adaptation, the number of hungry people will continue to rise. So whenever you watch the news and you hear about hunger in this part of the world, you will remember me today. Abby? So unfortunately, this is the problem. But I wanted to also touch on your question when you asked about how can provision of food, is it enough? It's not enough. Provision of food addresses short-term hunger, but we still need to address long-term hunger. And we don't only give people food, we also give them the means to grow food. If we had been able to see the video, you would have seen that in some, for example, in Syria, that country has been under war for 9 years. And a lot of the country has been destroyed. So now, when it's time to rebuild, they're still at war, but when they're ready for peace and there is time to rebuild, we will be there helping the people also to repair their farms, all the things that have been damaged, to fix it so that they can grow and produce and be self-sufficient. This is our goal, for countries, for nations to be self-sufficient and meet their own goals. So, my dear students, she asked how can she participate in ending hunger. I think it's quite simple, just by having that awareness now. Because what I'm very hopeful of is that by me speaking here today, your awareness has been raised. You know that there is a problem in society, meaning even in our own country, in northeast Nigeria, because of Boko Haram. You are also aware that there is a problem in the world. So in your own corner of the world, there is something you can do. Raise awareness about the issue. Support an NGO in your community that is helping poor people. If you go through university and you get your degree, you can support to develop policies that help smallholder farmers, policies that promote biofortification, policies that promote school feeding. Does anybody know about school feeding program? I'm very happy to hear that. Previously in WFP, I was working in the school feeding department. So even by providing children food at school, you are contributing to their development. And the government has to take this on as a social protection program. So I hope I've been able to answer all your questions. Oh, we have one more question. That's great.
How can the program help developing countries to reach their full potential?
Thank you very much for that question. WFP is working in 88 countries. Many of them are conflict countries, but there are countries that there is peace, there is stability, and we can focus on development. Prior to going to South Sudan, I was working in Côte d'Ivoire, and Côte d'Ivoire is a country at peace, and my focus there was on development. So the way that we helped the government was really, we do studies to see in a particular community what are the issues and how can we address them. So from studies, we are able to work with the government to develop policies, food security policies, nutrition policies. In a developing context, the responsibility responsibility is the government. So we are there to support the government, but we share our global knowledge and experience with them so that they can make programs that can meet the need of the population. If there is a problem, the only way you can solve the problem is by knowing what is the cause of the problem. And to know the cause of the problem, you have to do a study, a research, etc. And then this research can eventually be translated into a policy that then becomes a program. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Yes, sir.
Well, I know we don't know how many guys are doing. I know. But then, you see, I begin to pity the World Food Program because there is a crisis brewing in Nigeria, for example. Now we are encouraged to grow food and all the rest. And there are others that are going to this farm and devouring the crops. And yet, the United Nations holds hands, waiting for Nigeria to explode. Over 200 million, you say you are coping with 600 million and you will not be able to cope. When we add another 200 million, how will WFP cope? Will you say it is not your problem? Now, of what use is the United Nations if you cannot solve health problems that can feed the West African sub-region if all its products are properly handled? And that's my worry. The world folds its hands, like watching Nigeria to explode. And they are saying it is not our business. You can only advise. Fine. And when Nigeria moves across Africa, which country will absorb Nigeria? And that is a big problem.
Should I take one more question? Okay, there's another session. Okay, so let me quickly try to, that question is really a very difficult one to respond to. And I'm not going to say that it's not the United Nations problem, because Nigeria is part of the member states of the United Nations. The thing is, we need to avoid that situation, that apocalyptic situation that you just predicted. We need to find a way to avoid it at all costs through conflict prevention. We must not fold our hands and wait until that situation you described arises. Nigeria has presence within the UN Security Council. They should raise this problem. They should raise this problem to the world's attention and ask for help. We, WFP, we cannot just go into a country and start working. We are there at the invitation of the government. And we will bring all our resources together to support the government. So, in a humble way, this is how I can respond to your question. We do not want Nigeria to explode. We do not want population displacement, because when that happens, it's even more costly to address. So at all costs, we must prevent that situation from exploding. Thank you.
Mine is really to add to what was said earlier on. Governments must invite that they have a problem. The United Nations cannot enter any country. That is the agreement under the Charter, except there is request. Of course, in 2005 or thereabout, there was the signing of an agreement that would allow intervention if a government can no longer defend its own people. But who is the United Nations? The member states. The Security Council is made 5 States, Britain, France, China, and Russia. They must reach an agreement. All five must reach an agreement in order to carry out that responsibility to protect. Those who are taking international relations will deal with all this down the line, but it's essential that United Nations is made up of several agencies. You might have heard about UNDP that is focused on development, WFP focused on hunger, several UNICEF taking care of children. All these are things that you can look up and have some more ideas on as we go along the line. And WFP, if the video had been shown, is actively helping Nigeria in the northeast.
A round of applause, please. I don't know why some of us here are afraid to ask questions. Because this is Kamas, and I know that most of you would have, one time or the other, have SDGs on your outline. So I see no reason why you should not be able to come up and ask questions. But I know it's quite interesting, and you can Google so that you can see more and know more about the United Nations. While the speaker was on, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Peace Chinedum Babalola, walked in, and I would like her to come up for very few remarks before we take on the sinners. A round of applause for her, please.
Thank you very much. I understand you, so don't worry, because I was once like you. So I understand you very well, because I was once like you. So I understand. I understand the vibration and the energy going on right now. So, but before I release you, I just want to let you know. First of all, I welcome you to the second semester. Thank God. And thank God that we didn't lose anyone. And by the grace of God, we don't lose anyone. Yes. So, we're working around the clock to make sure that Chrisland becomes better. That's from Lagos, and all we're discussing is how we can make our university better, how we can up our game, make you more comfortable, give you 24-hour life, all of this. So I'm sure that, yes, that's where it's coming from. And that's what I'm discussing at the moment. And then, we're worried about water. Very soon you will have surplus water. The one you can drink, the one you can buy, whichever one. You are free. If you go around with digging more borehole, we put up treatment plants near you, because without water you just have only food. It's also a problem. Is that not correct? Alright. I want to appreciate Mrs. Badejo-Sanogo. Thank you very much. I took time to read her profile, and I just want you, as you're going, to pick something from her. She read sociology and economics, and she's been working in the United Nations for 20 years. The reason why we brought her, apart from the World Food Program, which we have heard about, is for you to be encouraged to see where you can work, to see where you can do internship, to see where you can volunteer. You can decide that today. And if I were you, I want to grab her. You want to do internship online now, you can do it in the United Nations, and you can work there. She's not earning naira. She's earning what? Dollars. So think about that. Some of you might want to grow specialized food, package it in such a way that WFP will buy. Am I correct? And they go and use the aeroplane and drop them for them that are hungry. Some of you might just be interested in making other people happy. You're just interested in adding value to people's lives. I can see humanitarian job and all. You're just interested in making those that are hungry to be fed. You're interested in making those that are weeping to laugh. You can get that in this kind of job. Am I correct? Yes. So we want the young woman, and her father is an ex-UN diplomat. So you see what is happening. Diplomats giving back to what? Another diplomat. Please clap for the Badejo family. And very soon, Professor Badejo has the first homegrown first Chrisland professor. I don't know whether you know him. I'm not introducing him very well. Very soon we are going to be seeing more of international things. I was surprised. I was asking my international relations people, you better grab this opportunity that you have today. Diplomacy and all of that. So please, don't be shy. Don't be your shell. Don't walk in silos. There are many, many opportunities there when you go out. Last night, I was watching the news and I saw students of higher institutions kidnapped. And they've not released them. They showed the footage. And what were they saying? We are hungry. That's what they were saying. There are students like us here. We're praying hard, it will not be our portion, but it's somebody else's portion. You know, they're talking about security, they're talking about food. They go together. What can you do to help such people when they are in such situations? Are you with me? So I want you to begin to think beyond, I know you're tired, I know you're clapping so that we can go. But think about something good for yourself as you leave this place. Are you with me? With whatever cause that you're in. We want you to be international. I want to hear that you're working in United Nations or PSP, whatever, for your own good and for the good of mankind. So on that note, I want to thank you very much for finding out time to come and discuss with us. And we're going to keep a linkage with you. We want to see her teach us online. I've not told her. Her husband also works in United Nations. Hello. So very soon they'll be teaching our international relations online. That's my plan for them. I've not announced it. I hope you'll be able to do that. Thank you very much. So on that note, I want to thank everyone for being patient with us and all the staff and Professor Kiko for acting and the Badejo family. Can we give them 3 Musa? Musa. Musa. God bless you.
Okay, the VC has given the closing remarks and she has appreciated everybody. Of course, we're going to leave quietly now and allow the next group to come in. Meanwhile, if you are so interested in the presentation and you still want more of that, you can still remain seated as the next group, that's the seniors and BMS coming up. Now, it is my humble pleasure to announce to us that our Vice Chancellor here, Professor Mrs. Chinedu Peace Babalola FAS, has just been appointed as a board member of the All Vice Chancellor of Nigerian University. And we just appreciate her. I'll just inform that not just a board member, but the alternate chairperson. And we celebrate this wonderful woman once again. You see, hard work pays, and we pray that the Holy Spirit will continue to guide us, and God will give us strength and wisdom to pull through. Thank you, God bless you. So we'll see you again next Wednesday.